Hey, and welcome back to the third episode of Demystifying Design. And this one we're going to be doing more of a fun challenge than we had before. I'm going to be redesigning the app called Furbo, which is a digital dog monitoring application where you set up a camera in your home and you can shoot treats at your dog, and you have an application on your phone you can use to watch them. I use this all the time. It's a super fun little app, but I'm sure, as you can see on the screen here, there's a couple things I'd like to improve about it. Overall, I think it's a little too cluttered. There's way too much happening on this dashboard page. My attention's being pulled in several different directions. I want to fix the navigation a little bit here. It's a little counterintuitive as to how it's laid out, and I'm going to address that. The profile system between the different dogs, you can switch between. Right now, you can see I've got Bonnie here. That's one of my mom's dogs. But I also want to make sure that the main focus of the experience, being the video feature and the ability to interact with your dogs, is more emphasized in the homepage dashboard here, or the home screen, so to speak. So all of that, I think we can improve, and I'm just going to jump right into it. Strap yourselves in. Here we go. Alright, so here we are starting with the header for the new experience. One of the first things I did was I moved the ad call to action that was in the footer below that blue premium banner into the header, and I gave users a way to dismiss the advertisement. This is kind of a human-centric approach where generally we know that people don't want to be advertised to, and you want to give them a way to opt out while still showing the advertisement, because at the end of the day this is a business. So figured a header was a good place to put this. And now, getting ahead of myself a little bit, I decided to use an image as a representation of a video as the background for the application. I figured it made sense to have the video just playing all the time unless the user opted out to turn the camera off in the background, much like when you use FaceTime or Google Chat. You'll notice that the video just starts playing in the background because it's the main part of the experience, and all the interface is overlaid on top of that. So that's where that image is in the background there. I played around with putting the brand name in the header for quite a while because it's like that in the previous app and it looks quite nice, but after thinking about it a little more, I figured that this is a great opportunity to minimize the screen real estate that's being taken up by the UI by putting that profile section that was just below the header in the previous home screen into the main header, and allowing users to select between the dogs that they wanted to view by just clicking on that. Continuing with the body of the home screen here, I wanted to play around with the play button a little bit and kind of mess around with the illustration tools that are available in Adobe XD and make a little paw. So if you wanted to play with your dog or your cat, you could just hit the little paw button and it would actually go into that mode where you can throw treats at your dog. Just a little bit more playful. I kind of think it fits the vibe of the Furbo experience overall. With the status bar at the bottom here, I wanted to stick to the spirit of the original design because I felt that it did a good job at surfacing the relevant information for the user. But I wanted to make two specific tweaks. First, I wanted more emphasis on the number because people can kind of get what that number represents quickly after checking the category below it, but the number is what's most important to people because they can make assessments as to whether or not there's been a large amount of activity or not, and then whether or not they need to investigate. Also wanted to add that little yellow notification icon so people could see if something had changed since their last visit to the app, and then click to learn more about that particular category. You'll notice I've also added a little label in the past week there. It makes things a little more explicit. There's no label in the current experience, and it's a little confusing as to what those numbers represent. So I just added a label to make things more explicit. But I think more importantly here, you'll see me playing around with this swipe up to play button for a very long time. This was actually a big mistake on my behalf. It doesn't make much sense to have two ways to do the same thing. We've already got that big play button, so I'm wasting valuable screen real estate with this swipe up to play button. It looks aesthetically pleasing, but you'll find very shortly that I just remove it and add some more useful detail there instead. So as I play around with this to tweak it and make it perfect, you'll see I spend a lot of time trying to figure out the best way to represent the date and time here, but I figured it made sense if people, given the context of the Furbo application, typically people using it, they aren't home, right? So they may be in a remote location where they don't know what time it is. They probably know the date, but they don't want to have to do the math to figure out what time it is when they're looking at their dogs. So I wanted to put a quick local time, a little space that showcases the local time so that that's all clear and very explicit for people looking at the app. You'll have probably noticed by now that I'm using lots of cool iconography this time around. I actually have a license to the Noun project. I'll link it in the description, but it's such a robust repository of iconography, and you can get the SVG files, which when you're using an application like Adobe XD allows you to change the color, even edit the vector icons if you have the appropriate license. So definitely check that out if you're struggling to find some just basic iconography for your application. Finally, what you're seeing me do here is give the users a way to toggle the camera on and off. Obviously, privacy is a big concern for people that are putting cameras in their home. They want a way to turn it off if possible. Maybe they're home and they just don't want people looking through the camera remotely. So that was an important concern, important enough to warrant its own little control on the application home screen here. And you'll see I actually wireframe a little experience in Adobe XD using auto animate again that will toggle the screen on and off, but we'll get to that in a minute. I really struggled with indicating to the user that the camera was turned off in some intuitive way. I toyed with the idea of just making the background black, but since the video was the background, the live playing video would be the background of the app, I figured turning it off, it would make sense to just change the background to some nice little dog print background, which I created using the Noun project, symbols from there, iconography from there, and then just threw it together in Adobe XD and used it as the background and faded it in with opacity. This indicates that the camera is clearly off because it's not showing a live feed anymore, and of course the color and position of the camera button changes itself. And there we go. So in the end, I think I took this app and I made at least the home page experience much simpler and moved the focus around in ways that I think will have a positive impact on people using the app on the regular. So here we've got the old one. As you can see, there's just a lot going on. You're not really sure where your eyes should go. You certainly focus on the camera part in the middle and you want to click that, but there's all these other competing things, and I'm not really sure what is supposed to be the main focus of the experience. But then we have the new one here, where we've got just about all of the same functionality. There's been a couple pieces moved into submenus, and I've removed other things I thought were unnecessary, but overall it's very clear that the focus of this experience is the video itself and your ability to interact with your pet at home, but there's also all the secondary information down below that you can look at to just get a quick glance as to what's been happening in your absence, and you know what time it is. If you're far away from home and you're not in the same time zone, you can easily toggle the camera, as you see here. But that's it, folks. As always, I think this was kind of a fun one, a unique one, but I'm having a real hard time going through and finding some apps and some web apps that need to be redesigned. I'm honestly a little too generous, I think, to when I'm looking at these sites and these apps, I'm thinking, oh, these are actually great. Yeah, I admire this design, and I really need some examples of bad design so we can turn it around. But if not, I'll come up with something on my own. If you have something of yours, though, please leave it in a comment. But thanks for sticking with me through the third episode. I hope you're having a wonderful week, and I keep on designing out there. Bye.